Well, I know it's only been about 3 weeks, but the 2024 Tundra is looking a lot better already. What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things. The Tundra is looking a lot different than it did 3 weeks ago when I picked it up at Quality Toyota. If you haven't caught the video of me picking this thing up, you can find a link for it right up here in the corner. You can check out that video for all of the specs of this truck as it was in its stock form, because obviously it's not stock anymore. A quick rundown is that this is a 2024 Toyota Tundra, and I opted for the double cab because I wanted a longer bed. That way I could run my camper in the wintertime. It looks a little more trucky to me. The truck is an SR5, and I loaded up the interior with all different bits. Toyota has been crazy with all of their different packages as of like 2020. So when you're looking for very specific specs, things get kind of muddy. So this is a TRD off-road package with a TRD off-road premium package, a premium audio package, black soft text interior. There's a lot of stuff going on, and you can find out all of those details in that video when I picked this truck up. We're now at the point where I have tested it out. I figured out what I wanted to change. I, of course, got the vehicle wrapped in the last video, and now the way that it sits, you can tell that I've already made some pretty drastic changes, and so far I'm absolutely loving them. The main thing we're talking about today is the general mods, the lift, the wheels, the tires, and I've done some other things as well. But before we get into that, I'll give you guys a quick walk around so we can check out this wrap that was done by Jake at Lucid here in Denver. Now, I mentioned this on my podcast and in some previous videos, but maybe I wasn't super clear on it. My whole idea behind this truck is to keep it OEM plus. So I want to keep the factory reliability, a lot of the driving characteristics, the functionality, but I also want it to kind of look a little bit better, but still come across as kind of a stock-ish looking truck. So for that reason, we decided to do this whole thing in a 3M gloss white. The truck is white from the factory. That's the one that I chose, and I'm just really into white vehicles now. It all started with my Sprinter van last year. So to add a little bit of my own flair to it, we opted for some gloss side camo on the hood with an orange stamp in the middle. I thankfully was able to delete all of the chrome of the mustache around the front grille, and that really drastically changes the look of a truck. A lot of people will tend to paint match that, but I decided if I'm wrapping the whole vehicle, that would probably be a pretty easy way to do it. And then if I ever want it to actually look completely factory, I could always pop it off. Moving back a little bit, we of course opted for some orange because orange is the only color that I really use. So we ran sort of a pinstripe down the length of the mirror here, and I will show you guys why we did that in a second. We of course have my branding with the side camo and orange there. As we move back the truck a little bit more, we added the Lucid drip. We started doing this on my Supra, and then we added it to my Tacoma, and now it is on the Tundra. It's kind of just like a little signature Easter egg touch. Kind of a cool looking customization there. And then when we come all the way to the back of the truck, we added a little bit more orange back here on the actual tailgate grab handle. And then I removed the factory blackout package that came with the Tundra. And then we filled the Tundra logo in the rear with side camo just to really tie everything together. I didn't want to go too crazy with the customization and the orange all over this thing because I know in the future I'm going to be adding some more little accent parts here and there. But overall, Jake absolutely killed it as always. You can't even really tell that the truck is wrapped. Anyone who has asked me about the truck, they're like, oh, you only wrapped the hood? You did the hood stamp? No, this entire thing is protected, and the reason for that is just to simply protect the paint. This truck is a lot wider and longer than my Tacoma, which I still have, by the way. A lot of people are asking about that. I still have my 3rd gen, but this truck is a lot bigger, and it's going to be more prone to getting pinstripes when we're on the tight trails of Colorado. So Jake, thank you again. If you guys have not entered your time in that video, you probably have about 24 hours from when this video goes live to guess how long it took Jake to wrap this entire truck, and the winner is gonna get a swag pack and also some free vinyl, side camo on a hood wrap or a roof wrap if you're in the Denver area. So check that video out, and now let's get into the actual mods on this thing. So the lift wheels and tires on this truck are the main spectacle in this video, but I do want to talk about some of the changes that we made to the front end, because from the hood back, everything else is pretty straightforward, but we did do a little bit of touches up here, starting up front with the TRD Pro grill. There's a lot of reasons for doing a grill like this. I personally just think it looks better. It deletes the chrome out of the Toyota logo, and also it adds a little bit more functionality at the same time. So I have diode dynamics lights on this truck, just like I have on on all of my other vehicles. And with the Pro Grill, I'm able to squeeze in an 18-inch light bar right in the middle there, which in my opinion kind of gets rid of the need for a big bull bumper with pod lights or even a roof bar. I generally don't need a ton of light at night when I'm out camping because I'm pretty much set up at camp before the sun goes down. So that white light bar in there is going to give me plenty of light for what I'm personally doing with the truck. Now, along the lines of keeping this an OEM Plus build, this is actually a factory Toyota grill. I'm not using anything aftermarket here. I ordered a lot of the parts that we're talking about today through a Toyota dealer directly. So to go along with the TRD Pro grill, they also have actual factory TRD kind of Raptor lights, if you want to call them that. They are grill lights. They are amber, of course, which further ties in the rest of the orange on this build, and I'm glad that Toyota is actually doing this now. A lot of aftermarket grill lights that I've seen kind of become chintzy and brittle over time. A lot of times they're not really fixed into place here, but this is a Toyota accessory and everything about this grill is super stout. Can't really say that about my Tacoma because I built that thing up and down a million times, but so far everything is super solid up here. Now, speaking of the lights just below the grill here, we have also changed out the factory fog lights with another Diode Dynamics kit. They supply you with brackets and these little light bars, which honestly, most people probably couldn't even tell that they are aftermarket. They look so factory, but let me tell you, they are insanely bright. We had this thing up on the lift for an alignment, and for some reason my fog lights were on, and we were all kind of walking around the shop like, oh my god, I can't see anything. So these output a whole lot of light, way more than the factory stock fog lights, and it's a really clean look, looking factory once again. To go along with that light output, I have also upgraded the headlights. The headlights that came on this truck are definitely adequate. They are very nice. I had the standard LED lights. However, Alpharex, of course, I have their lights on a lot of my vehicles too. They came out with these lights for the 3rd gen Tundra, I believe about a year ago, and they just look so much better. It cleans up the chrome. They look a lot more aggressive, and of course, I opted for the amber DRLs on here. The light output on these guys too is significantly better than stock, and I never had a problem with the stock lights, but these things are much brighter. There are some cool animations with the DRLs when you unlock and start the truck, and it's pretty typical Alpharex stuff, but it just adds a really nice touch to a truck like this while still retaining the factory look. One thing that I'm happy to report is that lights like this, when you're going aftermarket, don't actually change the functionality of some of the features on the inside. The new 2024 Tacoma and these new Tundras have a headlight leveling adjustment, which is found to basically like the left side of the driver's compartment. And I can actually level these lights up and down depending on the load that I'm carrying in the rear. So if I'm towing something like a trailer, your headlights are gonna be up in the air, blinding everyone, you're gonna get flashed. That adjustment still works with these Alpharex lights, and everything is basically the same as when I drove off the lot. Now, last but not least, on the lighting portion of things, right back here we have ditch lights from Diode Dynamics as well. These are the SS3 Pros, which are backlit in amber, and that is really what ties everything together. So we have the orange stripe on the mirror running into an amber backlit ditch light, which comes up to the amber DRLs across the amber grill lights, and it really just ties everything together. Put a lot of thought into kind of doing all of this stuff, and it seems really minor, but it makes the truck look like it was built this way with a purpose, because it was, of course. I do also have some special light covers on there. These are my collaboration project with Diode Dynamics. They are Psy Camo with my logo and their logo combined on the front. That will keep the lights protected. In some states, covers like that are actually required. So not only am I protecting the light, but I'm adding a little bit of flair to the build as well, because it, of course, ties in with the hood. Now, I believe that's about all that we did up front. So now let's dive into the suspension, the wheels, and the tires. Now, I've been so excited to show you guys all the stuff on the truck. I haven't even mentioned where we got all of this stuff done at, but of course I went to True Automotive. They've helped me out with the Supra, my Tacoma a little bit, even my Ruckus, so I decided might as well take this truck there because we already started the build with the Diamondback cover. So this truck was in the shop for 2 days at True, and basically we tackled the front end on one day with all of the electrical and the wiring, and we tackled the wheels, tires, and suspension on another day. All of their techs have done great work on all of my vehicles, and if you're looking for a shop that can tackle pretty much anything that comes to automotive related repairs or general maintenance or modification, check them out. They are in Denver, Colorado, and they can definitely help help you out with whatever build you may have on your plate. Now, what do you do with a truck like this? You're building it up, you want to go camping, maybe do some light off-roading, but in the end, mainly camping. What do you do to a truck to keep the factory driving characteristics? What can you do to not completely change the geometry of everything that's going on here? I was thinking to myself, how do I keep the Tundra in an OEM plus form? I scoured the internet looking at all different things, and one company kept popping up, and I am so glad I went this route because there is a lot of mixed things out there. I've heard things from personal friends of mine, I read on forums, I watched videos, and for the lift and suspension on this guy, I decided to go with Wescott designs. Now, Wescott has definitely made a name for themselves over the years with support on a bunch of different vehicles, and most recently I've heard a lot about their preload collar lift. Originally, I believe it started as a way to kind of level the truck, but now fast forward to, well, about 5 months ago, they released a new kit specific for the Tundra, and it's changing a lot of stuff that they've gotten from customer feedback to really retain that factory ride quality. So for suspension on here, I am running the 3rd gen Toyota Tundra TRD preload collar lift. This is a conversion kit that's going to fit basically every Tundra out there: SR, SR5s, Limited, Platinums, and TRD off-roads. And the thing that differs this kit that's on my truck from some kits that you may have read about in the past is that they're offering them in a way where it is compatible with the nicer factory TRD Bilstein tuned shocks. If you already have TRD shocks on your truck, then all you really need to buy is a preload collar lift. I, of course, did not have that, being that this is an SR5, but the TRD off-road package on my truck did give me a component that I actually needed to get this done. So again, I went to True Automotive and ordered these parts from a Toyota dealer directly. We got shocks and struts, and these part numbers are available over on Wescott Design's website. I'll leave a link for all of this stuff in the description down below. They say on their website that there's really no need to spend thousands of dollars on this kit from a dealer when you can purchase it for a fraction of the cost. So this whole setup right here is very similar to the factory optioned 3-inch TRD lift from Toyota, but it's done really at a fraction of the cost and it's still retaining the factory ride and a lot of factory components. The way they're able to do this is with that TRD suspension on there. So if you look at the size difference between these two, this new TRD suspension setup is a lot longer. So I'm not just compressing a stock spring with the same travel that I had before, but we're also replacing my factory components with other factory components before actually putting that preload collar on there. So I was a little bit skeptical about this, but I've already driven the truck probably about 500 miles, and so far it feels great. The main reason for doing this is because I, of course, wanted to get the truck up higher off the ground, but also to fit these 37-inch tires. Now, if you are interested in running a kit like this, there are some things to note. If you decide to do something like this on a new Tundra and you want to run a 35-inch tire, there's really nothing to report about. This kit simply drops into place whether you have the nice shocks and struts already or if you are upgrading to the ones that I'm currently using. And with the right wheel spec and a 35-inch tire, you don't have to do any cutting at all. Apparently, you just kind of bolt it up and you're good to go. A good thing about these new trucks is that Toyota has made it a lot easier to clear a bigger tire, so 35s on a Tundra are generally no problem. Now, with my specific choice, I did go a little bit extreme here because I know in the future, as this truck gets older, I'm probably going to want to build it up. So this part is not necessary, but I did also opt for the TRD upper control arm. The only thing that's really doing is giving me 2 extra degrees of caster adjustment so I can get this wheel positioned exactly where I need it to be in the wheel well. That way I'm not running into any rubbing issues. The rear end is completely fine. You just simply drop the plate on top of the spring in there, and I think it will probably work with aftermarket springs, which we will cross that bridge when we get to it. I do want to stiffen up the rear end a little bit because I know I'm going to have some pretty heavy camping gear back there. So I never got around to taking actual measurements of this thing, but previously it just kind of leveled the truck out. But now, especially with the 37-inch tires, we have about 3 inches of lift in the front and then about 1.5 inches in the rear. So everything is all leveled out. Right now there's currently no rake at all, but like I mentioned, once I load up that Diamondback cover, I'm probably going to get some stiffer springs just to kind of keep it where it's at right now. I absolutely love the way this looks, and again, it's retaining that factory ride. We will talk about that a lot more in some future videos as I'm out driving this truck around, especially when we're off-road. Another thing to note about this kit is that you have to have the red axles in your truck. So up front, the CV axles on my truck are the red version, which I believe may be a little bit longer and thicker. Don't quote me on that though. The reason I have those on my truck already is because that came with the TRD off-road kit when I bought this truck. You can find out a lot more information on what is actually needed and different specs and things like that of this kit on their website. So you can check out that link for all the nitty-gritty details. Now with the Wescott lift and the wheels and tires that I chose, we did do a little bit of preventative trimming up front because again, I'm probably gonna build this truck up. So I wanted to make sure that we got everything out of the way of the tire when I'm turning at full lock. And there's still a little bit more work to do, but essentially what we did in here was unbolt the factory horn that's back there. There's a lot of like crash safety feature stuff packed in here. So we deleted that, and then we also ground off one of the features on the front. It's a pretty quick job if you have a shop that knows what they're doing, and then we just painted it black to match the factory, and you really can't even tell that we touched anything in here. The only thing that you can actually see is a little bit of trimming up in the front and the rear of the tire because we trimmed back some of the felt in the wheel well. I also decided to cut some of the plastic just a little bit. The tire was clearing it just fine, but I decided, hey, if I go any more aggressive with an offset or different suspension like years down the line, I don't want to have to do this stuff then, so we might as well tackle it right now. At full lock, the tire is a little bit close to the remaining frame horn in there, and again, that's really just like a safety feature. There's about 3 sheets of steel, and it really doesn't serve a big purpose other than safety features coming from Toyota. So in the future, I will probably delete that horn as well, and then we will weld in a different support plate, get everything painted, and again, it's really not going to look much different from factory. Now, a lot of that stuff depends on the wheel and tire choice that you go with, so let's dive into that right now. I have ran 2 different sets of black Rhinos on my Tacoma, currently sitting on black Rhino Shoguns, and I decided we're gonna stick with that, but try something different. Haven't seen anyone running these wheels on a Tundra right now, so I opted for these black Rhino Vols. These are made with their Flowform technology, which gives you a ton of strength, but also these wheels are relatively lightweight. I know a truck like this can handle basically anything that I wanted to throw at it, but when you're putting weight on each corner of the vehicle, that rotational mass there really adds up after a while. So I decided with these, I really love the look of them, and they're also a lot lighter than everything else that I was looking at the time. These are very clearly a rally-inspired multi-spoke design, and they have these in a few different colors, the hyper silver like I have the Shoguns on my Tacoma, a matte bronze, but I decided let's go matte black. Now the size on these guys is really important depending on what type of suspension and tire that you're running. So these are a 17 by 8.5 inch wheel with a 0 offset. Since I haven't put any aftermarket wheels on this truck yet before, I really wasn't sure what to go with, but I was looking around, asking friends, and I decided on the 0 because it does give me a little bit of poke, but I'm really glad I didn't go negative because the tires and wheels would be sticking way out the side of the truck. And then of course you're throwing rocks and dirt all down your nice clean wrap or your paint. I'm really happy with the 0 offset. Oh yeah, and the best thing, these wheels only weigh 27 pounds, which is not too bad in the grand scheme of things. To go along with these wheels, I also put some Apex valves in there. That way I can quick dump all the air in here when we're getting off-road. I can air down all 4 tires with those valves in probably about a minute. I first experienced these on my Sprinter van and I've used them quite a lot. I decided I'm gonna put these things on basically every off-road vehicle that I own from here on out, or maybe until there's a better solution. And now last but not least, the tire choice. For a truck of this size, the stock tires that came on it, they're probably like 32s if I had to guess. It just makes everything look puny, especially with the double cab. Really long bed, short cab up front, and then really low to the ground with tiny wheels. It makes the truck look really disproportionate. I could have been a little bit more conservative with this and stuck with a 35-inch tire. I think it looks pretty good on the Tundra, but since it's fairly easy to clear an even bigger tire, and I already have 35s on my Tacoma, I figured we might as well go all out and get a 37-inch tire on this. Now I'm trying something new here with a new partner on the channel, Firestone Tires. They decided to come on board for this build, and I've never ran their tires in the past, but so far I'm really enjoying the look of it, all of the features that come with a tire like this, and I think I'm going to be testing out some more of their rubber here on the channel in the future. Again, like I said with the lift, there's still a lot of testing that needs to be done, and I'm going going to bring you guys dedicated videos on a lot of these components here. And these tires, I'm definitely going to be testing them and putting them through some paces. Now this is a 37 by 12.5 inch tire, again on a 17 inch wheel. These are the Firestone Destination MT2s. Currently, this is really the only tire in the exact size that I wanted that would fit on this truck. They are pretty aggressive for what I plan on doing with this truck, which is mainly like some light trails, overlanding, camping, and maybe even some road tripping. But I will say they look really nice on this truck. The Destination line of tires that Firestone offers is really for the off-road enthusiast. It's going to give you traction in slick and muddy, snowy conditions, and these things are really going to shine basically all across the board when it comes to being off-road. Wet performance, dry performance, and of course off-road performance. This is a 3-ply sidewall construction, making it their toughest, most traction-grabbing tire that they've ever released. And there are some cool features too, like a debris shield that protects the area between the tire rim and the actual bead of the wheel. Keeps you from getting stuff basically stuck in between here. Eventually, it would ruin your wheel. Another cool feature about these tires is that they are actually pinned for studs for icy, snowy winter driving. You guys know how my stock tires on this truck did when I was in the snow the other week. Will I ever use that feature and tread these tires with some like snow spikes? Probably not. I mean, I'm gonna say 99% chance I'm never gonna do that, but it's cool that it's an option, and I don't think it really takes away anything from the tire. Like I said, these things do look aggressive. They are big, tall tires. I'm currently running them at about 35 PSI when I'm on the road. And you definitely notice a little bit more road noise than stock, but the Tundra itself is fairly quiet on the interior, and the road noise does not bother me at all. I will have to stay on top of rotating these things, that way I don't get any cupping with the more aggressive tread and whatever kind of alignment we have this thing set to, but that's just general maintenance and routine stuff. I'm really excited to get these things into the dirt, the mud, the wetness, maybe even some snow, even though it's April here in Colorado. And I will report back in a couple thousand miles and let you know how these things are faring on the new Tundra. So that is how the new Tundra is sitting just 3 weeks after picking it up, and I am stoked to go to the next step with this build. Like I said, OEM Plus, so it's not gonna be anything crazy, but this truck is very close to being ready for me to actually go out and adventure with. There's a few more things that I wanna dial in, some recovery points, a winch, maybe a little bit more lighting accessories throughout this thing, and then of course we have to dial in the back. I actually just paid my friends at Sherpa Racks a visit, and we 3D scanned this whole truck, so we're coming up with something new and custom for this entire setup, and I'm going to be showing you guys that fairly soon. I actually have a trip coming up. I'm leaving in 2 days and I'm taking my van, so this truck unfortunately will not be coming with me on that one, but as soon as I get back to Colorado, there's going to be a lot more of this build coming your way. I need to give a huge thank you to the guys at True Automotive, Austin and Billy, for helping me out with this thing. Again, if you guys are in the Denver area and you need work done on basically any kind of vehicle, give them a call and see if they can help you out. Tell them I sent you. Huge thank you to Jake for getting this truck completely wrapped and protected. And of course, thank you to Firestone for sponsoring this build. I'm excited to test those tires out, and I'm gonna bring you guys some more content on those again in the future. Now, if you guys have any questions on this thing, let me know in the comments down below, whether it's about the lighting, the Wescott suspension setup, the wheels, tires, anything, let me know. I'll try to answer anything as best as possible. And if you are new to this channel, consider clicking subscribe because I make new videos every single week. As always, thank you for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one.